So the IRS just got their $80 billion in funding, as you can see here. Here's what it means for taxpayers. It's almost like the IRS got their tax refund, right, of $80 billion. This is just in time for tax season, right? You think of April 15th of tax season, the tax filing deadline, right? Now, who do you think is going to be targeted the most here with this $80 billion of funding that the IRS is going to be getting? I'll let you think about that for a second here as you take a listen to this, because it's kind of shocking, right?
The plan unveiled today is geared toward cracking down on uncollected tax revenue that the Biden administration says it can use to fund projects like taking on climate change. The IRS says it's going to use $80 billion to hire more than 7,000 new enforcement employees, upgrade its technology and infrastructure, as well as increase the number of audits on those making above $400,000. So how might this impact you? Joining us now is New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, representing Staten Island. I love it. Congresswoman, thank you very much for coming on the program. You're also one of the leading Republican voices calling for raising the limit on state and local tax, what we call SALT deductions. They're capped now at $10,000. First off, I want to hit the IRS news. I know there's a lot of media. It's been like, they're going to hire 87,000 agents. No, they're not. But it doesn't seem possible that there's no way this doesn't also raise audits on middle-class people.
Absolutely. Secretary Yellen came before our Ways and Means Committee last month, and she basically said that the percentage would remain the same across the board. And that means that 90% of the audits will be for those under $400,000 a year. So that is really what we've been saying all along, that this was going to increase the audits for the middle class. And President Biden keeps talking about those earning over 400,000, but the fact is it's 90% that is below the 400,000 that are being audited. Now, he's trying to basically pay down our debt by, shaking down the middle class, really trying to find every single penny and that he possibly can from hardworking Americans. He's not looking at pro-growth tax policy. He's not looking for better trade deals that can open up new markets for American products overseas. Those are ways that we can increase our GDP without hitting the hardworking American over the head again. So I get concerned because they know that it's the middle class that have the hardest time fighting these audits. They could be completely innocent and done nothing wrong. Now they got to pay tons of money in lawyers, and they know that they'll just end up settling.
If they go to be fair, Congressman, if they go to the audit phase, generally the IRS will just send a letter, sort of like, can you explain this? Can you explain that? I may or may not have received them. And they can be intimidating because it's like, okay, there's some nameless, faceless, gigantic governmental organization that's sending me basically a form letter, and 6 months later they get back to you. Here's what I think a lot of people that are not watching in the New York or Boston or California areas, if you're watching in Dallas or Davenport, Iowa, whatever, $400,000 is a lot of money. We get that. But $400,000 in Staten Island is a lot different than $400,000 in Kansas City. Why are we so obsessed with these fixed dollar rates? If we're going to go after, quote, the rich, can we, like $400,000 in New Jersey or Staten Island is a dentist and an accountant.
That's absolutely right. And that's why I would make the argument that if this is truly about going after the wealthy, they have more than enough agents to do that, especially considering that 90% of the audits are for those earning $400,000 or less currently.
Yeah, so 90% of the audits are currently for people making under $400,000. So I don't know about you, but I'm a little skeptical. You could let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I do think they need to hire more people just to literally answer the phones and to just go through paperwork, because I've seen far too many comments of people saying they've been waiting for their tax returns for over a year. There's a massive problem with that. There's also a massive problem with trying to get somebody from the IRS on the phone. Have you ever tried to call the IRS and you can't get a hold of somebody, or you wait on the phone for hours? Yeah. Or you send something to the IRS and you heard them, that you get a letter back 6 months later. They literally said that in the video. Yeah, but if you owe them money, oh, heaven forbid, it's like, oh, you owe it to them now, or they charge you interest penalties immediately. It's like such a broken system. It's the most back ass word system ever. Um, yeah, it's just it needs a serious overhaul yesterday, and I don't know what needs to. You can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Meanwhile, Jamie Dimon, the JP Morgan's Chase CEO, head of one of the largest banks in the world, says the banking crisis is not over and will cause, quote, repercussions for years to come. Years to come. This could be the start of a massive financial meltdown like we've seen in 2008, 2009, 2010, and a large recession. This also comes here as depositors yank another $126 billion from U.S. banks. So this is just probably the start of things here. Yeah, Jamie Dimon, longtime JP Morgan and Chase CEO, said the latest financial shock in his annual letter said the current crisis is not over. And even when it is behind us, there will be repercussions for years to come. But importantly, recent events are nothing like what occurred during the 2008 global financial crisis. I told you that was bad. Literally our whole financial monetary system almost collapsed back in 2008, 2009, 2010. And is this the start of something like that happening again? We've already had the second and the third largest bank failures in the US already fail this time around. The recent banking issues in the US began with the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, which was closed by regulators on March 10th, and depositors pulled tens of billions of dollars from that bank alone. Yeah, the stress on regional banks has led investors and analysts to suggest that the, quote, too big to fail institutions would be a beneficiary of the crisis. But Dimon said JP Morgan wants to strengthen the smaller banks for the benefit of the whole financial system as well. He writes, the recent failures of Silicon Valley Bank in the US and Credit Suisse in Europe and the related stress in the banking system underscore that simply satisfying regulatory requirements is not sufficient. Risks are abundant, and managing those risks requires constant and vigilant scrutiny as the world evolves. And remember that banking regulations were loosened up significantly here a few years ago during the Trump administration. And I get that sometimes less regulation is a good thing. But in this case, maybe not so much, because these banks have kind of let the greed maybe get to them a little bit too much, and they go out and take risks with your money. And it turns into a problem. It was a problem in 2008, 2009, 2010, and maybe it's a problem here again. So you let me know your thoughts here. Do you think these big banks should be taking these massive risks with your money? And we've already seen massive banks fail here. Two massive banks here in the US fail. Credit Suisse here, which is basically a global bank. And we have Deutsche Bank as well on the verge. We have massive, massive banks here worth billions and trillions of dollars. And this is just the start of things. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon down below. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new videos that come out here on our YouTube channel. And thanks so much for liking and sharing these videos. Here's some videos you should watch next. The US government is banning some of your household items. Click on this video here. Or Americans were just given a nuclear warning. Click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.